They lied, they manipulated, they humiliated you. Now they want to smile, make small talk, and pretend none of it happened, like you're the dramatic one for remembering the pain they caused. But let's be clear, actions have consequences, and some people desperately need to learn that. The world is full of individuals who expect forgiveness like it's their birthright, without changing a single toxic behavior. They screw you over, toss out a lazy apology, and wait for you to sweep the pieces under the rug again. But not this time. In this video, I'm going to give you brutally honest reasons why certain people absolutely deserve the consequences of their actions, and why enforcing those consequences is not cruel. It's necessary. Because when you stop letting people walk all over your boundaries, you don't just protect yourself. You send a message that the cycle ends here. If you've ever felt guilty for cutting someone off, second-guessed your right to be angry, or silenced your instincts for the sake of peace, this is your wake-up call. Smash that subscribe button right now, because what you're about to hear will give you the strength to stop explaining, stop excusing, and start reclaiming your dignity. Reason 1. They were only sorry they got caught. To forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. But here's the part they leave out. The door only locks behind you if the other person never learns a thing. We live in a culture obsessed with unconditional forgiveness. Scroll social media and you'll see it everywhere. Be the bigger person. Let it go. Don't hold grudges. And while those messages sound noble, they often serve a darker purpose. They're used to shame people, especially the kind-hearted, the emotionally responsible, and the elderly, into tolerating what should never be tolerated, into becoming endlessly patient with those who continue to harm them. Here's the truth. There is a world of difference between forgiveness and letting someone off the hook completely. Forgiveness is an internal process. It's something you do for your own healing. But consequences, those are external. They're what the other person earns through their actions. When someone wrongs you, whether it's through betrayal, disrespect, or violation of boundaries, and they face no consequence for what they've done, the message they receive is terrifyingly simple. That worked. I can do it again. Psychologically, people learn by results. Just like a child touches a hot stove and learns not to repeat it, adults, especially manipulative or careless ones, learn what behavior they can get away with based on how others respond. If bad behavior brings them what they want without resistance, they will repeat it. Not because they're evil in some cartoonish sense, but because it works. The cycle becomes dangerous when the person they're hurting believes that forgiveness means immediate reconciliation, instant emotional reset, and zero accountability. That is not forgiveness. That's self-erasure. That's handing your dignity over like it's disposable. This is particularly painful for older individuals. With age often comes wisdom, but also a tendency toward empathy, softness, and giving people the benefit of the doubt. Parents forgive adult children for unspeakable rudeness. Long-term friends dismiss cruel remarks as just how he is. Spouses accept betrayal in silence for the sake of keeping the peace. And all the while, the violator receives the exact outcome they were counting on. No pushback, no consequence, just more access to your time, your trust, and your peace of mind. Stoic philosophy offers a powerful antidote here. The Stoics taught that we cannot control the actions of others, only our response to them. But that response doesn't have to be passive. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength includes setting boundaries. That strength includes saying no more, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. To forgive someone internally is noble, but to continue allowing them into your life with no accountability is self-betrayal. Here's the key insight. Holding someone accountable isn't cruel, it's reality. It's not punishment, it's not vengeance, it's showing them the mirror. If they lie to you, the natural consequence is that you don't trust them. If they violate your boundaries, the natural consequence is that you create distance. You don't have to scream. You don't need a dramatic confrontation. You simply let their actions write the rules of the relationship from that point forward. This helps them grow too, if they're capable of growth. Someone who's genuinely remorseful will understand that healing requires consequences. They'll accept the damage they caused, and they won't pressure you into pretending it didn't happen. They'll sit in the discomfort of your silence, your distance, your firm boundaries. That discomfort is their teacher, and if they guilt you, gaslight you, or turn your boundary into another offense, then you've been given the clearest answer of all. They were never sorry. They were only sorry they got caught. So the next time someone tells you to forgive and forget, remember, forgetting is optional. Forgiveness can happen in silence. But consequences, those are earned, and if someone keeps showing you who they are, it's not your job to unsee it. It's your responsibility to protect yourself from it. Reason 2. Patterns of disrespect are deliberate. I want you to think carefully about the person who has hurt you more than once. Not just a one-time misstep, not a misunderstanding, but a pattern. Maybe it's the sibling who always finds a way to twist the knife during every conversation, just enough to hurt, but never quite enough to cause a scene, or the adult child who only calls when they need something, but somehow always disappears when you need support. Or perhaps it's that longtime friend who turns cold whenever you're struggling and only reappears when life is good, just in time to take credit for standing by your side. There's a moment, and if you've lived long enough, you've felt it, when something clicks. That cold shift inside when you suddenly realize this isn't forgetfulness, this isn't stress, and it's not an accident. What you've been calling mistakes are actually choices, calculated, repeated choices. It's like standing in the rain and suddenly realizing the downpour is coming from someone standing above you, holding a watering can, smirking as they pretend to sympathize. A woman I knew, let's call her Evelyn, retired early to care for her ailing husband. When he passed, she found herself more alone than she'd ever been. One of her daughters began calling more often, visiting occasionally, even helping with errands. Evelyn clung to it as a gift. She'd tell her neighbors, "She's really showing up for me now," but over time that help turned transactional. The daughter started hinting about money, how hard things were, how much she was sacrificing to be there. Evelyn, grateful and guilty, began covering bills. Then came small loans, then came new credit cards. When Evelyn hesitated, her daughter would vanish for days, only to reappear with apologies and reassurances that she was just stressed. The cycle repeated again and again. What Evelyn didn't see, what so many in her position don't see, is that these cycles of disrespect are rarely accidental. They follow a familiar pattern. First, the boundary is violated, a lie, a manipulation, a moment of emotional cruelty. Then comes the minimization. It wasn't a big deal. You're overreacting. Can't you take a joke? Then there's the temporary charm, flowers, a call, maybe a kind gesture to make you drop your guard. And then, inevitably, it returns. The disrespect resurfaces. The kindness disappears, and the cycle continues. This behavior isn't random. Research and clinical psychology both confirm what the Stoics understood centuries ago. People who benefit from violating others' boundaries rarely stop unless consequences force them to. Why would they change? The system works perfectly for them. And for people like Evelyn, kind, loyal, and terrified of confrontation, the consequences never come. So the damage grows. One of the most powerful tools to begin breaking this cycle is documentation. Not for revenge, but for clarity. The human mind forgets, especially when emotional manipulation is involved. A simple note, date, time, what was said, How it made you feel can become a mirror. When Evelyn finally wrote things down, she saw the pattern clearly. The promises broken. The timelines of kindness aligning only with moments of financial need. It was no longer a fog of confusion. It was a structure, one that she now had the power to step out of. But even more important than documentation is learning to trust yourself again. That quiet voice inside you, the one that tightens your stomach, that makes you feel uneasy after certain conversations, that leaves you emotionally drained after someone leaves the room. That voice is ancient. It's not paranoia. It's self-preservation. It's wisdom that has aged with you. Stoic philosophy teaches us that suffering often stems not from what happens to us, but from our denial of what is. When we fail to accept the truth of someone's consistent disrespect, we extend our pain. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." But it's not your job to change others. Your job is to accept the truth and act accordingly. So if someone keeps hurting you, if their mistakes are starting to look like strategies, it's time to stop waiting for the next apology and start preparing the next boundary. They don't need another chance to prove who they are. You need the courage to believe them the first time and protect yourself accordingly. Reason 3, boundaries protect your self-worth. Did you know that the human brain physically rewires itself based on repeated emotional experiences, even ones tied to mistreatment? Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity, and it means that the longer you allow someone to cross your boundaries without consequences, the more your brain begins to accept that treatment as normal. And that's the terrifying part. Over time, it's not just your relationships that suffer, it's your self-worth. Here's something most people don't realize until it's almost too late. Every single time you let someone mistreat you without consequence, you're not just giving them power over that moment. You're reshaping how you see yourself. Every time you bite your tongue when something hurts, every time you excuse their behavior with, "they didn't mean it," every time you swallow the discomfort just to keep the peace, you're sending yourself a quiet but devastating message. My feelings don't matter. My dignity isn't important. My peace is less valuable than their comfort. This self-message doesn't scream, but it spreads like a slow-acting poison. It seeps into every corner of your life. You start. Reason 4, enabling is not compassion. What you allow is what will continue. Read that again. You may think you're being kind. You may think you're helping, but if you keep excusing someone's bad behavior, you're enabling it. You're not helping them grow. You're helping them avoid reality. It feels like love, but it's fear in disguise. Fear of conflict, fear of losing the relationship, fear of being alone. So you let things slide. You give them another chance. You accept their apology. Again. You hope they'll change, but hope without boundaries is helpless. It traps you in a loop. They hurt you, they say sorry, you forgive, nothing changes. That's not compassion, that's self-sacrifice. Real compassion isn't about shielding people from pain, it's about letting them face the truth. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone feel the full weight of their choices. That's how people grow. That's how people change. Shielding them delays that growth. You're not cruel for setting limits. You're not wrong for stepping back. You're not heartless for saying, "I won't do this anymore." You're finally being honest. You're finally choosing yourself. Because endurance without boundaries is not strength, it's self-erasure. You disappear slowly, piece by piece, hoping they'll notice. But they won't. They're too comfortable. Too used to you making it easy. It has to stop. You can love someone and still say, "Enough." You can forgive someone and still walk away. You can care and still create space, because enabling them is not saving them. It's just saving them from the lesson they desperately need to learn. Reason 5. Protecting your peace is your responsibility. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Not your family, not your friends, not your partner. It's your job to protect your peace. It's your job to decide what you allow. If someone brings stress, chaos, or pain into your life over and over, they don't deserve a front row seat anymore. Your life is not a free-for-all. It's not a place where people get to come and go as they please. You get to choose who stays. You get to choose who has access to your time, energy, and presence. That choice is sacred, but too many people give it away. They think they're being nice. They think they're keeping the peace. But peace, bought at the price of your self-respect, isn't peace at all. It's a slow burn, a slow loss of self. Protecting your peace doesn't always look dramatic. It can be quiet. It can be simple, not answering that text, saying no without guilt, leaving the room when the conversation turns toxic. Choosing silence over forced smiles, that's power, that's protection, and it's yours. Stoicism teaches us to accept what we can't control and fiercely guard what we can. You can't control their behavior. You can't make them understand, but you can control your boundaries. You can control your space. You can control who gets your time, and you should. Because peace is not something you find, it's something you build. One choice at a time, one boundary at a time, one moment of self-respect at a time. Some people will never admit what they did. They'll never say sorry the right way. They'll never change, and that's okay. Because your healing does not depend on their apology. It depends on your decision. The decision to stop shrinking for the sake of peace. The decision to stop pretending that pain didn't happen. The decision to start honoring what you feel, what you need, and what you deserve. Let them think you're dramatic. Let them call you cold. Let them gossip. You're not here to be understood by people who choose to misunderstand you. You're here to live with clarity, with boundaries, and with peace. So draw your lines, stick to them, and remember this. You don't owe anyone access to the version of you they broke. You owe yourself the strength to rebuild, stronger, wiser, and untouchable. If this hit home, if you're tired of second-guessing your worth, if you're done with being the only one who cares enough to fix things, then subscribe. Right now, because this is just the beginning. On this channel, we don't chase peace. We create it. We don't beg for respect. We embody it. And we don't wait for change. We become it. Hit that subscribe button. Your future self will thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.